everyone, and welcome to the W12 Sprint Series. My name is Dan Papels, and today I'm taking you through everything that the W12 Sprint Series stands for. So fasten your seatbelts and enjoy the ride together with me. First things first, the W12 Sprint Series was founded in 2021 by professional racing driver Mirko Bortolotti, who won the DTM Championship in 2024. He came up with the concept aiming to combine the fun factor of driving unknown cars and tracks with a real-life race approach. This means having the ability to adapt to new situations quickly by having limited practice time, and more importantly, to provide the exact same preparation time to each competitor. The W12 Sprint Series takes place in the off-season, most likely on Mondays, consisting of 2 racing servers on each racing day. With more than 16 different car classes and more than 50 tracks forming the official draw, the uncertainty and variability makes this series unique. Also, the racing formats themselves are different. In Server 1, in fact, the action starts off with a 30-minute practice session before heading into a single lap one-shot qualifying. After that, the field will be split in 2 halves for the following 2 heat races, with the top 5 finishers advancing directly to the main race. A final consolation race for the remaining drivers will define the remainder of the starting grid, with all drivers competing against each other for the big points in the main race with a mandatory pit stop. Once Server 1 is complete, all drivers meet up in Discord to do a live draw for the next car and track combination for the second server, which will feature a more straightforward format consisting of a practice session and the almighty single lap qualifying, followed by an 18-minute main race. The event is rounded up with a top 18 reverse grid race of the same duration. Also, in this case, a pit stop is mandatory in both races, which triggers another important aspect of the W12 Sprint Series, and that is strategy. Since a couple of seasons ago, we also introduced the Silver Cup class, a classification dedicated to less experienced drivers who score points towards both classifications. Eligible silver drivers can easily be spotted on the live stream given their 3-digit race number and silver color badge. Last but not least, 2 more things worth mentioning. All car setups in the W12 Sprint Series are fixed, which means equal conditions for all drivers, and all races will feature standing starts. Combined with an extremely competitive field of drivers, all ingredients are given to guarantee action. Don't miss it on our YouTube channel. I hope you enjoyed this little introduction with me. I'm Dan Papels, your W12 Series commentator, and I'll see you on track. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you may be in the world, and welcome to the W12 Sprint Series season number 8. My name is Dan Papels, and I'm delighted to say that I'm not alone in the commentary booth this time. It's Timo Klaus together with me. He will be doing all the production in the background, and sometimes, maybe sometimes, he will feature as a bit of a commentator too when we do have the time. We don't have a lot at the moment, so I think it's time to quickly get into one of the first things that all of the W12 drivers met with for season number 8, and that is, as always, the draw for server number 1 of this evening. And as always, the draw is pretty simple. There are all of the tracks predetermined in a list together in the draw, together with all the predetermined cars in a list. You can see those on the left-hand side. Tracks are on your right-hand side. And as you see, the Rallycross was the first car that was chosen. And at this point, I think everyone was like, oh god, here we go again. Who knows that famous Rallycross car race at Magny-Cours? I think that didn't go that well for all the drivers in past seasons. Then the Indy Next got drawn, and as always, we move on to the tracks. 2 tracks will be drawn. They will go into the final draw, and from those 2 cars and those 2 tracks, we will pick the final car and track combination for the server. First track was Virginia International Raceway, and the second track for the evening that could be drawn. It's taken a little while. Here we go, it's Knockhill. And actually, this is the reversed layout of Knockhill. Here we go, and let's choose the car that we will be driving for this evening. And it will be the Indy Next. So for those drivers who did not enjoy the rallycross car at Magny-Cours, they'll be lucky. The track that we will drive on, it's Knockhill. So it will be Indy Next then at the reversed Knockhill circuit. Looking back then at last season, because it was a season to remember for the W12 Sprint Series, is season number 7. Mirko Bortolotti again managed to clinch his 7th championship in the W12 Sprint Series. Yet, to this date, nobody else has been champion but the founder and owner of the W12 Sprint Series, Mirko Bortolotti himself. But, oh boy, was he closely challenged by Rafael Renhofer. It is actually the closest finish in the championship ever in the W12 Sprint Series, and it went all the way down to the wire. Rafael Renhofer only 4 points behind Mirko Bortolotti. Behind that, though, it was Benedict Hitz in P3. Hendrik Augustin managed to get a respectable 4th place finish, and Jonas Varna finishes off the top 5. Going to the silvers then, as always, a congested championship there too. Dennis Richter, though, something or somewhat unusual, did run away with it towards the end of the season. 20 points is the gap towards Florian Stadtmann, and Christian Ablasser finds himself in P3, just 6 points back on Florian Stadtmann, and just 2 points back of him was Philippe Hugret, who finished in P4. Jan Lins there, finishing off the top 5. Have a look at all your other drivers, if you do know any that are competing this evening. You can see where they finished in the previous season, season number 7. That's it, though, for the previous seasons. Let's focus on the season ahead, and let's go to the track. Knockhill, as you can see, it's a bit dark at Knockhill. I don't know exactly what these surface settings are. However, I know one thing for sure, and that is that, well, it's going to be a phenomenal track and car combination. Here we go. It's the Knockhill circuit, just 2 kilometers and a bit more than 2.01 kilometers for the OCDers out there, me included, in length. The temperature at the moment is 19 degrees, and I do have to say, well, as you can see, lots of straights on this track, so I'm expecting loads and loads of drafting in the race. That's it then for the track. The cars in itself, though, beautiful cars to drive in, and as always, they're challenging. It's never easy, let's be honest, in the W12 Sprint Series. We've got about 2 minutes of practice left, and I want to use those 2 minutes to go over a couple of things that changed this season. And that is the qualifying format. For this car, there is a 3-lap average qualifying session. That means if you have an off-track in any of those 3 laps, your 3-lap average will be nil. And that means you'll be starting from the back of the grid. What that does is it makes the driver find the sweet spot between the risk you want to take and how safe you want to drive, because you do not want that off-track. So how quickly can you lap without taking the maximum risk and putting yourself at risk to start at the back of the grid if you do find yourself with the track limit in any of the qualifying laps. That's something that's changed from last season to this season. There's also new cars, there's new tracks. Some tracks have been removed from the list, but one thing will for sure stay the same, and that is that, oh boy, this field is always close. On the left-hand side, you can see in the timing tower 2 different colors of numbers and 2 different sizes of numbers. As always in the W12 Sprint Series, we have the overall classification, which all drivers fight for, but to give the silver drivers an extra championship for them to fight for, there's also the Silver Championship. How can you identify those drivers, you might ask me? Well, there's one simple way of identifying them, and that's by color. The silver drivers in the timing tower on your left-hand side will have a white number. The overall drivers, which also include the silver drivers, will have the gold color. Another way of finding out who's a silver driver is the fact that silver drivers will have 3 numbers behind their names. Overall drivers who do not fight for that silver championship, they will only have 2 numbers behind their name. Those are the 2 ways of identifying the silver drivers compared to the overall drivers. But once again, I do mention the silver drivers do also fight for the overall championship. So that means if a silver driver finishes 3rd overall, he receives 3rd overall points in the overall championship. Well then, let's move to qualifying. It's, well, a bit of a gamble for us as well, how we're best going to show this to you as well. I don't know who exactly that was. Oh, it was Hugo Rob. Who else? The man with the worst luck in the W12 Sprint Series. He finds himself resetting back to the pits. It's not a long lap here. Drivers have 8 minutes to get around. Getting all squared up. I don't exactly know what Hugo Rob's doing here. Maybe he's practicing pit exit. Who knows? There is a mandatory pit stop in both the feature races. But the qualifying format is a 3-lap average, as I mentioned before. And some of those drivers soon about to start their 3-lap average qualifying session. Yeah, and of course, questions arise to everyone. Can Mirko Bortolotti defend this championship for the 8th time in a row? Here he is, Mirko Bortolotti, defending champion, driving with number 1. Did that last season as well. I think actually for the first time last season. He came to me and he said, Dan, what should I do? Should I run the number 1 or should I just run my normal number? And I said, well, go for it. Why not? Number 1, you've won now, what, 6 years in a row? I think it's time that you run number 1 for once. And so he did, and he continues with that in season number 8 as he embarks on his first lap in qualifying. Can the champ keep it between the white lines? Make sure not to get an off track while still being quick. Look at him sending it through the chicane. Normally that chicane is uphill, and normally that chicane drops away from you on the exit. You have to do all of your turning in the first part of it. But of course, in the reversed layout of Knockhill, that is not the case. The compression at the bottom of the chicane, also powerful to get your car turned for the next corner. You have to get it right. First lap for Mirko Bortolotti is fastest of anyone. 41.401. The champ starts off with a purple lap. Something that we're used to seeing from him. Benedict Hitz is the person closest to him. 41.461 again, sending it through the downhill chicane. Back up we go to the left. Drops away from you in the exit. Make sure not to get an off track on the right-hand side there. Jonas Vana, his first lap, 41.198. A full 3/10 quicker than Mirko Bortolotti. And also on his second lap, Mirko Bortolotti does a 41.291. Rafael Renhofer, oi, has he off-tracked already? No, he has done his 3 laps. He has done his 3 laps. It's a short track here. 41 seconds only. We're gonna complete loads of laps here. Mirko Bortolotti, where does he stack up on my timing screen? He stacks up in P4. Maximilian Meyer, one of our new drivers for this season, also drivers that are completely new to the championship, indicated with an R behind their name. That is to label that they are rookies in the championship. That doesn't mean that they're automatically silver. There are also overall drivers out there with a rookie banner behind their name. Here's Callum Lux, another of our rookie drivers. He is on his 3rd lap at the moment. Finds himself in P6. Not too bad, is it? Hugo Rob, though, 41.072. That's his average lap time. And he, with that, puts himself at the top. Maximilian Paul finds himself in 2nd. Rafael Renhofer in P3. Jonas Vana 4th. Mirko Bortolotti finds himself in P5. And if there's something that you can get used to from the champion, it's that he might not always be the quickest, but damn, is he good at being consistent. That's something where
well, he won the championship off in other seasons and last season as well, although it was challenged there by quite a bit. It was struggling towards the latter end of the season to keep those consistent results coming. Sometimes not always thanks to himself. As Leon Blum is one of the drivers actually. And this is something that I expected more drivers to do. He's something that, or he's someone that continues after his qualifying laps just to get a bit more practice in. You're allowed to do that. There's no restriction on the amount of laps you can run in qualifying. And since the setups are fixed, the fuel is in there anyways to do your laps in qualifying. .14 sector number 1. It is a short track here. There are some drivers still out there improving. Jan Lins, are there drivers still out there on laps? From what I can see, all drivers have completed their 3 laps. So the drivers you see at the bottom of your screen still going for laps. They're just taking it as practice. Here we go. This is a great time to go on board with Henrik Schleurer. He's practicing his start. He's going for it again. Up through the revs he goes. This time, a bit better. Not as much wheel spin as he had on his attempt before that. But that's something, of course, that all these drivers are going to have to deal with. And that's the fact that in every single car that we drive, it's going to be a standing start. Even in GT3s, yes, even in GT3s, there will be standing starts. If there's any questions, we do have a little bit of time now to answer those. Feel free to ask them in the YouTube chat. We'll try and keep an eye on that as best as possible. And answer some of your questions. It's great to have you all back again. Familiar voice back in the commentary booth. I'm happy to be back for the W12 Sprint Series. I'm happy to have Timo Klaus alongside me in the commentary booth doing the production. Takes a bit of pressure off me from usual seasons. Doing commentary, doing production, doing everything at the same time. Can get quite hectic. All right, then qualifying is almost done with. It's time to head to our first heat races. If you haven't seen the heat format yet, you're in for an absolute treat. Qualifying says nothing here. If you don't perform in the heat races, you could have qualified pole, of course. That's nice for the points. But it won't say anything for the heat races. All right, quick then. Let's go to the grid for heat number 1. And it's Mirko Bortolotti actually on pole position with an average lap time of 41.349. Jonas Wana finds himself in second. Hugo Ropp in third. So I do think the timing tower on the left-hand side only took the fastest laps and not the 3-lap average. Andrea Frazinetti in fourth. Henrik Augustin fifth. Hugo Zasse sixth. Lucas Müller in seventh. Marinke Jordanovski eighth. Niels Langeveld in ninth. Jens Fiedler 10th. Ben Buhnagel in P11 and Henrik Schleurer in P12. P13 for Christian Ablasa. 14th for Benedict Hitz. 15th for Patrick Dangel. On my timing screen, it says they're both 14th. But I don't think that is correct. Christian Steiner finds himself in P15. Jan Lins in 16th. 17th is Robert Hega. 18th is Callum Lux. 19th is Leon Blum. 20th is Tim Opitz. Then 22nd, my timing screen is all over the place. It goes from 20 to 22nd to 24th to 26th. So I'm relying on Timo here in the background to cycle through the grid. That is on your screen. Oh well. There we go. Here's the result from qualifying at least. So that's P24, yeah. Robin Rogalski, Ben Buhnagel. Some of those drivers won't be in this session. Keep that in mind. because those drivers will be in heat number 2. All right then, here we go. Mirko Bortolotti on the pole position. There's a jump start in the background, but Mirko Bortolotti gets the start he wanted. Look at the champion sprinting off the line, truly. Hugo Rob down in the turn 1 will try to follow him through as well. Behind that, it's 3-4 wide, as we do have a crash into turn 1 already. Mirko Bortolotti sprints away from the field. But there's bits flying around out the turn 1 already, and to be honest, with the starting field that we had, that was kind of to be expected. "40 drivers in the session. Mirko Bortolotti, the one leading the way. Number 21 of Hugo Rob then behind him. And Müller in P3. Hugo Zasse fourth then. Where has Maximilian Paul gone? He did not get going off the start at all. And I have a feeling he might have dropped down all the way down the order. Oh, here we go. Niels Langeveld up the inside, completely missing the corner. And I think taking out a couple of drivers with him. And I think that might have been Maximilian Paul who was involved, completely misjudging the braking zone for turn 1. You try to go all the way around the outside and then you're met with this, and you just have nowhere to go if you're Lucas Baza. Oh, is this then the battle between Mirko Bortolotti and Hugo Rob? Keep in mind, they're in the same team. Hugo Rob trying the same one round the outside of Mirko Bortolotti. Not able to pull it off. Look at this then. Senzi around the outside, way stronger on the brakes in the turn 1. Locks up though, opposite lock. And loses about a second and a half with that. Mirko Bortolotti though, still leading the way. Ahead of Hugo Rob. Mirko's now trying to extend that gap. Oh, another car off in the background. That car also seems to be missing a front wing. Keep the top 5 in mind. Oh, big contact there. And that was a bit clumsy up the inside, but Lucas Baza takes full advantage of it. Christian Ablasa was one of the drivers involved there. As once again, here we go. Maybe 3 wide in the turn 1. Not this time round. Oh, once again, cars off. The 911 of Ben Buhnagel without a front wing, shooting past all of them. Able to preempt them going off the track. What's happened to Hugo Rob? Hugo Rob was second at one point. Here we go. Oh, that was the last corner coming onto the straight, and off goes Hugo Rob. And not for the first time in the W12 Sprint Series. We just see Hugo Rob push a little too much and a little too far over the edge, and off he goes. He's going to have to drive a comeback race. One more position to gain for him to get him up into that feature race immediately. And to lock in his 9th place finish, or his 9th place starting position for race number 1. Right then, Jonas Vana with that finds himself now fighting for 2nd place as he goes right over the chicane. Big jump from Jonas Vana. if we would have drawn the rallycross car, that would have been a right good jump, but not in the next cars. That's not what you want to be doing. Doesn't lose too much with it though. Only drops back 1 position to Müller. So Jonas Vana still finds himself in 4th. Hugo Zasse then finds himself in 2nd. Mirko Bortolotti still with a commanding lead, 4.6 seconds over Hugo Zasse. As another crash occurs. And that's not the first one this evening. And that car seems to be pretty stuck in the gravel trap. Back to the pits he goes. That was Christian Ablasa. And that is heat race done for him. He's going to have to try and make up positions in the consolation race later on. Niels Langeveld, after that turn 1 incident, he finds himself without a rear wing. And there goes the back end. But I think you can expect that without a rear wing. I think quite dangerous to continue like that even. As we're into the last minute of the race, Mirko Bortolotti will come round next time to take the checkered flag. He's already reaching traffic after a 6-minute congested race. What's that going to mean then later on for the feature race and the other heat race if he's catching traffic already? Blue flags in this championship pretty clear. Move out of the way. The car does move out of the way. Mirko Bortolotti overtakes him before the checkered flag. He wins this race. Hugo Zasse in the background will take P2. And then it's Lucas Müller who finds himself in 3rd. Jonas Vana 4th. And Robert Hega is the last driver to go through to the feature race from the heat races. All of the other drivers will have to fight for their place, for their starting position in the consolation race later on. Biggest losers in this race, Niels Langeveld, 10 positions lost. Hendrik Augustin, 7 lost. Andrea Frasinetti, 6 lost. And Hugo Rob lost 4 positions as well. Mega start though from Hugo Rob. All right, quickly through the grid then, because we only have 1 minute. Here is the grid for you. This is the result though from qualifying in server number, no, there you go. It's the heat result. Mirko Bortolotti wins ahead of Hugo Zasse, Lucas Müller in 3rd and Jonas Vana in 4th. Robert Hega, that's your top 5. Those are the 5 drivers that go through to the feature race. All the other drivers, we'll see them back in the consolation race later on. Right then, it is Maximilian Paul starting on the pole position for this race. But it's the 34 of Rafael Renhofer with a better start. An even better start for the 778 of Michael Haverens. Oh, contact there. Rafael Renhofer's off already with Maximilian Paul. Is that Rafael Renhofer? No, it's Rafael Renhofer still behind Michael Haverens here. So those two fight for the lead. It's the silver driver, by the way, fighting for 2nd place in the race later on. What a debut that would be for Michael Haverens. Rafael Renhofer, though, hot on his heels. Hot on the gearbox of our rookie Michael Haverens. Marius Zug finds himself in 3rd. And that is ahead of Benedict Hitz in 4th. Those drivers, if they're smart, they take their places for the feature race and they fight it out there. Back to the start. Oh, there was a car already stricken before we even managed to reach turn 1. That was Martin Stadtmann. The question is, how did that happen? One thing's for certain, and that is that he won't see the checker flag in this race. I think once you go back to live pictures, it becomes clear that there's another couple of cars off the track. I see multiple cars dropping down the order. Here's Benedict Hitz. He found himself in 4th. Where is he up to now? Here's Michael Dörlinger, long-time driver in the W12 Sprint Series. Once again, cars scattered all over the road. My goodness me. Having to avoid melee at the start. Oh, unlucky. Both of them going off. And making contact in the gravel trap. As you can see on the left-hand side, fans not amused with the amount of crashing happening right in front of him. Rafael Renhofer still challenging Michiel Haverens for the lead of the race. He's going to try the up and under. And he has managed to put it off. Pulls to the left-hand side of the Belgian. Next corner is to the right though. Rafael Renhofer, no, not brave enough to stick his nose on the inside, but the pressure is enough to force a mistake from the Belgian driver. And Rafael Renhofer is up to P1. Another replay here, this time from Marius Souk. Another driver to be caught out by the chicane. Please watch the rejoin. Thank you very much. Rafael Renhofer won't get this race win for free. Oh, he might though. We switched away. We got Lance strolled by our producer because I think that was Michiel Haverens going around that turn one. Yes, it was. Rafael Renhofer, the moment I said it, I commentator cursed him, didn't I? That's the first one of the season then. Here it comes. Michiel Haverens brakes late, brakes too late, locks up the rears, round he goes into turn one. And well, for him, it's a case of trying to stay in the top 5. But if I look on my timing screen, that's something he hasn't managed to do. And for P1 or P2 now, that's him down the order. Another car round off the track to the inside he goes. That's Mario Herzog, who's off the track as well. And that car is also not going to see the checkered flag. René Rösler. Here he comes, the same as Hugo Rob. Does he manage to keep it out of the wall? Yes, he does. Oh, has to watch out, a car spinning in the background. That was Martin Stammmann. We're going to see it from the beginning this time round. Here he goes. Oh, it's absolute chaos at Knock Hill. Multiple drivers back in the pits, not seeing the checker flag for this race. I'm so not looking forward to the feature race if it's the same as this. It's gonna be absolute chaos, but with double the cars. And I wish my producer, Timo Klaus, best of luck to follow the action there then. Isaac Fairweather up the inside without a front nose. Manages to make the move stick. Driving for Coach Babe Academy. That sounds about right. Mario Truma. He is the last driver, or he's the first driver not to... So he has to watch out then for an attack from behind as well. Marius Souk. This could be crucial. And he loses, or he gains P2. Up he goes, or up the inside he goes. That's lap traffic. Lap traffic already playing a big part in this race. We're going to see more of that later on as well. Maximilian Paul, he finds himself in second, or in seventh, excuse me. Down the order he goes. He seems to be off the track as well. He got overtaken by Leon Blum. They're 20 seconds back of the race lead already. And they find themselves in P7 and 8. That's almost half a lap at this track. Absolute chaos. And I think it's Bernhard Geberger who finds himself now up into P5. And the silver driver might well be able to make it through to the feature race immediately. Rafael Renhofer has done everything in this race he needed to do. There's nobody that's going to question his performance after this one. He's going to start on the front row together with Marco Bortolotti for the feature race later on. He wins heat race number 2. Marius Souk puts himself into the feature race immediately as well. Benedict Hitz follows him. Rogalski in P4 as well. And it's Bernhard Geberger who fends off Truma, Mario Truma behind him. And he's into the feature race as well. Phew, when's it time for a breather? This is the good old W12 that we're used to. Now, I forgot the name of the race, haven't I? The consolation race, there you go. Will be 2 minutes shorter, I think, than the heat races. Or it will be the same length. We'll see once we get going. Rafa Renova, Marius Souk, they put themselves up into the feature race immediately. Marinka Jordanovski is in first position for this race, though. Everyone from this race is continuing through to the feature race. It will just decide their grid positions. Can Hugo Rob have another mega start like he did in heat race number 1? Mario Troma and Marinka Jordanovski will be looking at the lights from the front row. Here he is. Number 63 of Marinka Jordanovski. On the right-hand side of the screen. Left-hand side of the screen, Mario Troma. Hugo Rob though behind him. Couldn't get the start he was looking for, or that he had in heat race number 1. Going into turn 1 though, Marinka Jordanovski, mega start. Too good of a start. He's too quick into turn 1. And that allows Hugo Rob to close back at 5 minutes. So none of that was true. What I said before the race, it's 1 minute shorter. Instead of 6 minutes, it's 5 minutes, the consolation race. This is to decide the grid places for the feature race later on. Side by side between Ivan Ferrari and Jan Lins. Wow. Putting his right-hand side tires onto the grass. And in a corner where you load up your right-hand side tires, that's never a nice feeling. Oh, big crash into turn 1. Is Hugo Rob involved again? I wouldn't be surprised. He drops back to P6. Leon Blum now finds himself in P1. Here we go. Here's the replay. Marinka Jordanovski, Hugo Rob driving for the same team. Up the inside goes Hugo Rob. Marinka Jordanovski says, no, you're not having that, sir. And from the perspective that we were looking at it, that looked like Marinka Jordanovski turning over the nose of Hugo Rob. Isaac Fairweather finds himself in P6. Can you keep up with all the action is the question. I think that's a fair note from my producer in my ear. But Isaac Fairweather with a front wing is even quicker than he was without. Jan Lins off the track. And when he comes back on, he's met with a roadblock, isn't he? Mario Troma. This is once again down to turn 1. This is one of the action points today. Brakes late, brakes too late, car up the inside. Bonk, contact. And, well, surprisingly, for the first time, I think, nobody goes around. Isaac Fairweather, P6. Where can he get up to? No, there's a front wing. FIA, are you seeing this? Virtual safety car for debris on track, please. We're on board once again, or we're looking with Michiel Haverens, who's putting pressure on the back of Maximilian Paul. And that's another cool thing of this series. How often do you get to say, I was having a battle with DTM driver Maximilian Paul? As once again, cars scattered off the road. And that means, oh, that was the leader actually. Maximilian Paul's up into the lead. That was your leader off the track. Maximilian Paul goes wide. That opens up the door for the Belgian Michiel Haverens. Up the inside he goes. If he can keep his nose there, that will mean he will go up into P1. We're going to look at this replay first though. Ivan Ferrari into turn 1. Another car just coming from way too far back. Oh my goodness, Ivan, you are a pancake. Not holding your brake. And off you go. Leon Blum was the driver who lost P1. Going off the track into the last corner. Up the inside though goes Michiel Haverens. And he barges his way through on Maximilian Paul. And the Belgian finds his way up into the lead of the consolation race with just 1 minute to go. Maximilian Paul will now have to look and to try and hang on to the gearbox of the Belgian. This will be the last lap of the race. Checkered flag will be out next time around. But a lockup for Michiel Haverens opens up the door once again for Maximilian Paul to try and have a look up the inside. Here comes René Reusler. He loses that position to Leon Blum, who makes his way back up into the top 5. This is the battle for the lead on board with Maximilian Paul. Sending it over the curbs is Michiel Haverens in front of us. Traffic playing a big part in this race already. Gets out of the way in quite an unorthodox way though. But it's going to be Michiel Haverens, the Belgian, who's going to win the consolation race. Maximilian Paul has to settle for second. And Isaac Fairweather rounds off the podium for the consolation race. But as I said before, this means nothing compared to the starting positions for the feature race. That's what this race is for, to set those positions. All right then, that was the consolation race. And for Ivan Ferrari, not the consolation race he was looking for. Contact with the back marker took him out of the lead. And handed the lead to, at the time, Maximilian Paul. There's a warm-up session in between. And that gives us, thankfully, a little bit of time to take a bit of rest then. And talk about what we've just seen, because oh boy, there was so much to go through. Mirko Bortolotti will be starting from the front row. Alongside him will be Rafael Renhofer, who also took a commanding victory in the second heat race. Those two will be starting from the front row of the grid. The grid for the race will be available as soon as we take over to that session. And we'll get that up to you ASAP when that happens. Let's take a look at what you have to say in the chat though. I would love to say there's a lot going on, but there isn't really. It's like, let's have a look at the chat. Is anyone saying anything? No, not really from the start of this one. Let's have a reload. Maybe I'm wrong, who knows? All right then. That was the warm-up for you. And we continue into the feature race. And I'm gonna do my absolute best. But I don't know if I can get through all of this grid in time. We have 2 minutes to do it before we get going with the feature race. All right. Let's go then, shall we? Mirko Bortolotti, Rafael Renhofer is your front row. Hugo Zasse, Marius Soek is your second row. Third row, Lucas Müller, Benedict Hitz. Fourth row, Jonas Wana, Robin Rogalski. The fifth row of the grid is Bernard Geberger with Robert Heger. Maximilian Paul and Michiel Haverens find themselves on the sixth row of the grid, 11th and 12th, respectively. 13th is Isaac Fairweather. 14th, Niels Langeveld, Leon Blum, René Reusler, Chris Steiner, Ben Buurnagel, Patrick Dangel and Tim Opitz round off the top 20. Maximilian Maya and Mario Herzog, P21 and P22. Callum Lux, Marinko Jordanovski, Christian Ablese, Andrea Frasinetti, Hendrik Augustin, Martin Stadtmann, Michael Döhlinger, and Hendrik Störer. That's your top 30. Mario Truma, Lucas Baza, Jan Lins, Ivan Ferrari, Anton B, Stefano Pellegrino, Davy Ewama, Christoph Hatos, Hugo Ropp, and Jens Fiedler. That is your grid for the feature race. And I rattled that one off. It's time to get going then for the feature race at the Knock Hill Circuit. Marco Bortolotti on pole, Raffarenova next to him. It's an absolute launch off the line from Marco Bortolotti. In the background there's a car scattering off to the left-hand side already. Off the start, that car was facing backwards, didn't even make the start line. It's chaos once again at the start, but Marco Bortolotti is seeing none of it. Here we go then. Car just Mario Soup just did not get going. It's an anti-stall, I think. And that is multiple cars into the back of him. Just unsighted and unable to see what's happening in front of him. Marco Bortolotti leads the way then. 18 minutes this feature race. We can expect a pit stop to have to be made as well. And if I remember correctly, in these cars, there's a tire change necessary as well. Let me actually fact check that. I'll come back to you on that in a bit. But Rafael Renhofer, Mirko Bortolotti got the start they wanted. This was how congested turn 1 was. There's a car halfway, or well, there's a car without a right rear suspension. There's a car without a front right suspension. At some point we'll be able to make a full car of it. Maximilian Mayer didn't even make the start. Okay, so for these cars, there's no mandatory tire change. So it's just the pit stop, which is taking on a tiny bit of fuel. And then you get going again. In server 2, there's 2 cars that can be drawn with a necessary tire change. And that is the Mercedes W13 and the Dallara IR18. So that's the Formula 1 and the Indy car. Those cars, there's a tire change mandatory. That's all for later on though. That's for server 2. Let's focus on server 1 here. 2 minutes depleted already from the feature race. Cars coming out of pit lane. With how wide this circuit is, that can get quite congested. Mirko Bortolotti, our race leader, is already into traffic, and we're only 2 minutes into this race. This is, I think, what's going to decide this race, and that is traffic. Maximilian Paul making his pit stop 2.5 minutes into this race. That might be a decision he lives to regret with all the congested traffic that he now has to get through. Or will Mirko Bortolotti regret it? Steiner and Geberger are off the track. And that hands the silver lead to Dangel, another rookie. Our best placed rookie in the field actually, Patrick Dangel in the 112. On board then with our second place driver, Rafael Renhofer. Keeping Mirko Bortolotti honest. Oh boy, I can only imagine how it is to drive on this track at the moment. The marshals must be holding a blue flag and a red and yellow slippery surface flag out on simply every corner as it seems like. 3/10 though only still between Mirko Bortolotti and Rafael Renhofer. When will Mirko Bortolotti start screaming, blue flag, blue flag? Who is it actually in front of him? I think it's Callum Lux in the Jens Brothers race, or in the Jens Brothers competition car. That is in front of Mirko Bortolotti, it is. A rookie Callum Lux. It seems like he has the pace to maybe drive away from Mirko Bortolotti. Bit of a mistake there from the champion. Coming out of the final corner. But look at the gap they already have to the cars behind. Hugo Sasse finds himself behind that green building there. There he is, camouflaged with it because of his green and yellow car. Grello, some would say. And he finds himself right, I think, with the race lead, that is? No, it's not. That's with Maximilian Paul, actually. One of the drivers who decided to make an early pit stop. And look at the traffic they're having to deal with. Cannot be ideal to have major pit stop that early on. At the inside he goes though, big send. Maximilian Paul congested by the traffic up ahead. Can Hugo Sasse take advantage of that? Has to get a good exit onto the straight now. Don't go too wide. Taking it very nice and safe. Hugo Sasse, cars going into pit lane. Cars off on the left-hand side as well. You can just see how chaotic it is. Just from being in the commentator's booth all alone. Imagine being out there on track and actually driving. You'd have to have eyes everywhere. You didn't have to have eyes though on the battle for the lead, because that stayed the same. Still as close as ever. Mirko Bortolotti having to defend on Rafael Rennhofer. To the outside goes Rafael Rennhofer then. The next one is to the left. Mirko Bortolotti has the inside for it, but Rafael Rennhofer takes the race lead away from the champion. And we have a lead change for the first time in the feature race. Rafael Rennhofer, can he now open up a gap to Mirko Bortolotti? Mirko will now suffer from the dirty air behind Rennhofer. But he might also be able to save a tiny bit of fuel. Müller behind, Lucas Müller also catching up to these two. The fighting that they've done, the traffic they've been involved in, it's all congesting them back up with the drivers behind. Mirko Bortolotti all over the curb, using much more curb there than Rafael Rennhofer, just seemingly needing to use more of the track to get the same lap time out. Rafael Rennhofer though slowed down on the exit by cars that are a lap down. Is that a chance there for Mirko Bortolotti to sneak one up the inside? No, he's too far back. But still, the traffic stays a thing. And here's Müller, Lucas Müller, still catching up. In the background of this, Niels Langeveld. From a dramatic first heat race, that's a car off. It's none of the leaders though. He loads a curb there for Lucas Müller, even more than Mirko Bortolotti took in the last lap. I'm pretty sure if he could take out the bollards at the chicane, he would have done so. Mirko Bortolotti, it seems like he's not able to keep up yet with Rafael Rennhofer. Opening up a 10th or 2. Yeah, there you go, 3/10 quicker last time round, Rafael Rennhofer compared to Mirko Bortolotti. Niels Langeveld now finds himself in P3, lost 2.7 seconds on the last lap. Something must have happened to Niels Langeveld there. Maybe traffic getting slightly involved as well. Like I said, on a track like this, traffic is going to be so important. Bernhard Geberger finds himself in the pits as well. We're going towards that time where everyone starts making their pit stops. And there's not a lot of drivers left who don't need to make their pit stops. Lucas Müller, Maximilian Paul, Robert Heger. That's the battle for current third place. They find themselves in 5th, 6th and 7th overall though, so they haven't dropped back too far. Cars towards P12 already a lap down. But that might be because they pitted early and cars ahead still have to pit. Mirko Bortolotti has now pitted. He's come out ahead of Lucas Müller by about 1.5 seconds. And this is now the laps for P1. In clean air, can Mirko Bortolotti close the gap to Rafael Rennhofer? Time loss in the pits is about 20 seconds. Rafael Rennhofer enters the pits now. There he is. When is he gonna come out? Here he comes. Mirko Bortolotti enters the straight. He has the speed. There he is in the background. He's too far back though. And he will still be behind Rafael Renhofer, who went defensive into turn 1. Will lose a couple more tenths coming out of it. And the gap is back down to 0.5 of a second. These two so equal in pace that even throughout the pit stop phase, the gap has stayed at a steady 0.5 of a second like it was before. And Rick Störer. Oh, around he goes. Can he get it pointing the right direction again? I was going to say that's a good save, but on the power a bit too early. Traffic once again playing a role. Playing a factor in this race. Up the inside he goes. Is traffic going to allow Mirko Bortolotti through as well? Yes, they are, but it will lose some time for Rafael Renhofer. This is never nice as a race leader. Seven and a half minutes still remaining in this race. And you wouldn't believe me if I told you we had only 10 or just about 11 minutes of this race with the amount of action that we've seen already. Once again, traffic playing its factor. Being let through, both of them. 2/10 the gap now. Mirko Bortolotti late on the brakes. Almost running into the back of Rafael Renhofer. Something that not a lot of people know maybe is the fact that Mirko Bortolotti is actually a Formula 2 champion. So he knows Formula cars in and out as well. Loads of racing experience. Rafael Renhofer, Mirko Bortolotti racing the same paddock. Mirko Bortolotti in the DTM, Rafael Renhofer in the ADAC GT4 Germany. Frequently catch up. This time though, they're rivals on the track. Michiel Haverens, the rookie. It looked so good for him in heat race number 2, but it all came to an end when he spun on the exit of turn 1. The commentator curse struck for the first time this season, as that's another car off on the right hand side of the screen. The battle for the silver lead is between Bernhard Geberger and Lucas Baza. The gap between those two drivers though, 3.7 seconds. Maximilian Paul, he's managed to find his way back up to P5, he's up 7. Niels Langeveld up 10. But listen to this. The man in P9, Hugo Ropp, up 30 positions. Came from P39 and he's found his way all the way back up to P9 by staying out of trouble. It's not done though yet. It's not done yet. We have seen it go wrong for Hugo Ropp before. So let's hope that's not the case this time round. Taking loads of curb. What's possible still for Hugo Ropp? 4 seconds up ahead. Just over 3 seconds up ahead is Hendrik Augustin. Marin Jordanowski not too far up ahead of that. But I think it stops there because the gap between Marin Jordanowski and Robert Hega in 6th and 7th is 6 seconds. And I think that's a bit too much at this stage of the race to close that gap for Hugo Ropp if he does get there. Callum Lux is about to lose that position to Ivan Ferrari. No, it's Lucas Baza who's about to lose that position to Callum Lux, excuse me. And now, the battle up ahead for the silver lead. Geberger and Dangel. There's a second between them. Here they are fighting for P12 overall. Mirko Bortolotti is about to reach them already. Rafael Renhofer on the back of the traffic. An unorthodox place to get by. But it works out at the end of the day for Rafael Renhofer. And now it's full push ahead to these two. Geberger and Dangel. They are fighting for the silver race win. and the full points in that championship. And there are the leaders. They've lapped up to P15. And that is on pure pace alone. Everyone's made their pit stop. So that is pace. A slightly early pit stop phase. Usually we'd see people still be pitting now. Here he comes then, Mirko Bortolotti. Does he see this as his chance? A tenth and a half back. Forces Renhofer defensive. Tries to make it round the outside. Audacious move by Mirko Bortolotti. It doesn't work out quite yet. Time is trickling away for him though. He has to make a move quick if he wants to. Look at the gap between P1 and P2. It's less than a tenth. Mirko Bortolotti though opens the gap back up. He's all over the back of him now. Renhofer has to get through this stage. He has to open himself up. Exactly, about a 3 to 4 tenth gap again. And then he can slightly chillax and drive his normal racing line again. Rafael Renhofer. That mistake there might well cost him. Mirko Bortolotti heads to the outside. The both of them are they going to make it through side by side? There's a car off as well. That probably didn't help Mirko Bortolotti's case. Yellow flags were out. Not allowed to overtake. And Rafael Renhofer with that opens up a 6-10 gap. And with only about 3 more laps to go in this race, time is trickling away for Mirko Bortolotti. Berger seems to have a stronghold now on the silver class win as well. Dangel behind him, the 112. Yeah, quite a ways behind. In a fight with Callum Lux, actually. Yeah, they're once again catching back up the traffic. They're lapping up to P12. It's a astonishing drive by both of them. Ooh, Berger not getting out of the way though, as they would have liked. And that plays into the favor, into the hands of Mirko Bortolotti again. 2 more laps to go, 1.5. And Mirko Bortolotti once again is all over Rafael Renhofer. The champ wants to defend his crown. But is he able to do so? Rafael Renhofer might be one of the drivers to challenge him to it this season. Here we go then, last lap of the race. White flag is out, waved by Barney. Mirko tries a last lap push, but with that comes a tiny mistake at turn 1, and that might well be it for the Italian. It was that moment at turn 1 where it seemed like Mirko Bortolotti kind of conceded the lead to Rafael Renhofer, said, here you go, I'll just try and follow you round. And that seemed a crucial moment, because here he comes, Rafael Renhofer wins the first feature race in W12 Sprint Series season number 8. And Mirko Bortolotti will have to do with second. Behind that, it's Lucas Müller who comes back, or who comes in at 5.5 seconds back. And then it's Niels Langeveld behind Robert Heger, 18 and 19 seconds back respectively. Berger takes the silver win ahead of Patrick Dangel. Christian Ablasser finishes in 3rd in the silver championship. But oh boy, was that a race. Unbelievable. Are the results ready yet? That's my question. We're waiting for Hendrik Augustin to come across the start-finish line. Look at Barney frantically waving the checker flag. I wonder, does he ever get tired? Into the pits he comes. He decides, you know what? That cooldown lap is way too much for me. I'll just drive into the pits and stop at my team. There you go then. And that's a feat I don't think we've seen often in the W12 Sprint Series. Drivers up until 9th place lapped by our leaders. Rafael Renova wins the first race of the Next Gen... the Next Gen Cup, Jesus. Yeah, he's usually in that paddock too, but it's the W12 Sprint Series season number 8 that we're doing tonight. Mirko Bortolotti in 2nd, ahead of Lucas Müller in 3rd, Robert Hega 4th, Niels Langeveld in 5th, Marinko Jordanovski in 6th, Hugo Rob in 7th, Marius Zoek in 8th, Robin Rogalski in 9th, Bernhard Geberger rounds off the top 10 and takes home the silver class victory as well. Hendrik Augustin in 11th, Patrick Dangel 2nd in the silver championship, but 12th overall. Then Ivan Ferrari 13th, Callum Lux in 14th, Martin Stadtmann in 15th, and Anton Abe in P16. Christian Ablasa 13th, or 3rd in the silver class, and 17th overall. Jens Fiedler in 18th, Michael Haverens in 19th. Looked promising for him, this server, but it wasn't to be. At the end of the day, it was, I think, server or heat number 2 where he threw away his chance of a top 10 result. Lucas Baza finishes in P20. P21 for I have Lucas Baza actually down as P21 here. P21 on this screen is Henrik Störer ahead of Maximilian Paul in P22. Maximilian Maya in P23. Mario Truma 24. Tim Opitz in P25 and Jan Lins in P26. Chris Steiner at P27 and P28 for René Reusler. P29 for Leon Blum and Hugo Zasse in P30. P31 then for Isaac Fairweather, Mario Herzog in P32, Andrea Frasinetti in P33, Davy Uwema in P34, Benedict Hitz in 35th, Stefano Pellegrino 36th, Michael Döllinger in P37, Jonas Warner, Ben Buhnagel and Christoph Hattels, also drivers who were not able to finish this race, 38th, 39th and 40th respectively. Phew, that was it then for server number 1. Expecting actually more of the same for server number 2. We're going to have the draw for server number 2 before that, though. The question is, when will we have that? We're still waiting for it. I mean, my oh my. This was another classic W12 Sprint Series server, wasn't it? For Timon, actually, I don't know if Timon has his microphone or his mic in the scene in OBS, but maybe he can have a chat with me as well while we wait for the driver briefing. But it was obviously Timon's first time seeing the W12 Sprint Series live and actually being a producer for it. Well,
I'm here.
Just curious, Timon. How did you take this all in? And could you take this all in? Because my goodness me, it was difficult for me to follow. It must have been even more difficult for you to follow.
I'm still catching my breath, Dan. This was some incredible action on this combo. You know, the short track with the very, very quick Indy next car. It was action from start to finish in every heat, consolation or feature race. So probably missed a few incidents, but we also catched a few. So yeah, it's quite a task with this combo. So I'm very curious about next combo. Maybe the Nordschleife or something.
Yeah, to make up for this short track, isn't it?
But also, Dan, probably it was pretty intense for you to keep up, right?
Oh my. You know, the Next Gen Cup, usually also driving with DTM. That's something that a lot of these drivers actually driving tonight also know. It's tough to keep up there already. We have 20, around about 18 cars there, usually for a full grid. And it's difficult to keep up there already. Well, yeah, do that times 3 or times 4 for the W12 Sprint Series, and especially on a short track as this. It just makes it all the more difficult, honestly, to follow the action. And I mean, tremendous job by you, team, in trying to give us all the camera perspectives and all the camera angles, trying to follow all the action. I think it got a bit easier towards the end of the feature race. when, the gaps were a tiny bit bigger. But especially with the heat races, the consolation race, with everything being so congested, it being such short races, people, I think, also took that as an invite to go a bit more aggressive. Trying to get that little extra advantage that they otherwise maybe wouldn't have gone for if the race was a bit longer and they had a bit more time. So that also, I think, caused a bit more of the chaos. But my goodness, I think this track, it delivered. It delivered.
Yeah, it's actually quite fun to watch, but particularly with this car, I think TCRs go very well here. Amazing. I love those English club circuits. So I don't know about you, Dan, but Alton Park, Thruxton can have enough of them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's BTCC, the British Touring Car Championship, will also do a championship round on this track. Since the draw is still not happening. Okay, there we go. The draw is happening. We can go to the draw, actually. I was going to say, we can maybe check in with some highlights of this race. But we'll go to the draw. I think it's Mirko Bortolotti and Christian Ablasa doing the draw for tonight. So we'll leave you with them for the draw. Then we'll go to a little intermission screen once we switch servers. And then we'll be back with you immediately once we get into the server with the full coverage of practice qualifying and all the races of server number 2.
looks a little bit different.
Hello everyone and welcome to the W12 Sprint Series. My name is Dan Papels and today I'm taking you through everything that the W12 Sprint Series stands for. So fasten your seatbelts and enjoy the ride together with me. First things first, the W12 Sprint Series was founded in 2021 by professional racing driver Mirko Bortolotti, who won the DTM Championship in 2024. He came up with the concept aiming to combine the fun factor of driving unknown cars and tracks with a real-life race approach. This means having the ability to adapt to new situations quickly by having limited practice time, and more importantly, to provide the exact same preparation time to each competitor. The W12 Sprint Series takes place in the off-season, most likely on Mondays, consisting of 2 racing servers on each racing day. With more than 16 different car classes and more than 50 tracks forming the official draw, the uncertainty and variability makes this series unique. Also, the racing formats themselves are different. In Server 1, in fact, the action starts off with a 30-minute practice session before heading into a single lap one-shot qualifying. After that, the field will be split in 2 halves for the following 2 heat races, with the top 5 finishers advancing directly to the main race. A final consolation race for the remaining drivers will define the remainder of the starting grid, with all drivers competing against each other for the big points in the main race with a mandatory pit stop. Once Server 1 is complete, all drivers meet up in Discord to do a live draw for the next car and track combination for the second server, will feature a more straightforward format consisting of a practice session and the almighty single lap qualifying, followed by an 18-minute main race. The event is rounded up with a top 18 reverse grid race of the same duration. Also, in this case, a pit stop is mandatory in both races, which triggers another important aspect of the W12 Sprint Series, and that is strategy. Since a couple of seasons ago, we also introduced the Silver Cup class, a classification dedicated to less experienced drivers who score points towards both classifications. Eligible silver drivers can easily be spotted on the live stream given their 3-digit race number and silver color badge. Last but not least, 2 more things worth mentioning. All car setups in the W12 Sprint Series are fixed, which means equal conditions for all drivers and all races will feature standing starts. Combined with an extremely competitive field of drivers, all ingredients are given to guarantee action. Don't miss it on our YouTube channel. I hope you enjoyed this little introduction with me. I'm Dan Papels, your W12 Series commentator, and I'll see you on track. Hello everyone and welcome to the W12 Sprint Series. My name is Dan Papels and today I'm taking you through...
Yeah. Shut up, that guy from the introduction. It's time for me to talk again. Anyways, welcome back to the W12 Sprint Series, season number 8, week number 1. That's a mouthful, isn't it? And Jesus, a mouthful was server number 1 as well. There was so much, and there still is so much to talk about. And we have quite a bit of time to talk about it. We still have about 19 minutes of the practice session left. Originally, we were planning to have driver interviews during this period, but it has become apparent to, I think, both me and Timon, that it seems like the drivers are scared of us. Which is fine, obviously. But yeah, that means that there will be no interviews as it stands. I did beg the drivers to please come in for an interview because we have 19 minutes to fill. But I think we can fill a minute or 2 already with something that's happening on track. So let's head to the track, shall we? It's something that in the W12 Sprint Series has not happened before because it was introduced after the last W12 Sprint Series race was done. And well, some of you might already know what it is, some of you might not. I'm leaving you with the suspense of not knowing what's happening, because I know and Tiemann knows what's happening. We'll just have to wait until Tiemann is ready to switch over to the broadcast screen for the race server. More than that, something that we can also talk about is the fact that Mirko Bortolotti is not leading the championship, and that also has been a while ago. A year to be exact, the last first round of the W12 Sprint Series. That's where Mirko Bortolotti, I think, also didn't lead the W12 Sprint Series standings. And I can have a look back at if that actually is true. Because server number 1 was Magny-Cours Rallycross, and we almost had the Rallycross car again for server number 1. But that race was indeed won by Mirko Bortolotti. And the heat after that as well. So I was proven wrong again. Mirko Bortolotti was definitely leading after the first round there. So it's been even longer ago that Mirko Bortolotti was not leading the championship. Here we go then. And as you can see, we're at Motegi with the supercars, the Australian supercars. And it's a car that not a lot of people, I think, often drive in iRacing, but it's a car that's a lot of fun. And especially with the conditions we have out on track. It's raining, or well, it's wet at least. I don't think it's exactly raining out on track at the moment. The overlay would suggest it isn't. And the overlay suggests that it's just cloudy, and it does look like that at the moment. So we're gonna have a drying track throughout. And once again, with these cars, we're gonna have a 3-lap average qualifier. So once again, me and Tiemann are gonna struggle to figure out who's leading this battle, because, well, I don't think there's simply a easy way for us to show that. But rain, something that we haven't had in the W12 Sprint Series yet. And there was plenty of chaos in server number 1. And I do have a feeling that with the wet track at the moment and the difficult cars that we are in, oh boy, we might see some more chaos in this one. We still have about 15 minutes left. Still no drivers in for an interview. I'll do another beg and tell everyone that I'll take basically any driver at this point who's wanting to do an interview. All right then, one beg later. And still no drivers. I thought that Isaac Fairweather might have been up for an interview, but I presume he hasn't seen it yet. Otherwise, he's nice and microphone happy. He would jump in, of course. Isaac Fairweather seems to be a fan of rain as well, and not only fair weather. That was one that I think we were all waiting for as soon as I said it. Rafael Renova, where did he finish actually last season? Season number 7. We have that slide, I think, ready for you to go. As Isaac Fairweather jumps to the top, 206.0. So the championship standings from season number 7. Where was Rafael Renhofer in that? Ah, there you go. Well, the championship fight continues between Mirko Bortolotti and Rafael Renhofer. 4 points in it last time round. This time round, Rafael Renhofer starts out on top. Who would have guessed it? He pushed him to the title last time round. And what at this point, it's an absolute feat if you can take that championship away from Mirko Bortolotti. So many drivers have tried over the years. Jonas Vana has had a definite attempt at it too. Marius Zug has had an attempt at it in the past as well. So many drivers have tried to beat Mirko Bortolotti. Oh my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a taker. Rafael Renova, welcome into the commentary. But it looked like for quite a while that all the drivers were scared of us. So thank you for hopping in. Rafael, just tell us a bit more, first of all, about Server 1 and about all the chaos that went on.
Yeah, it was quite a fun combo. The car was a bit too fast for the track, but no, it was fun. I mean, there was a lot of lapped cars with 40 cars on track, which is basically a karting track. But no, it was good fun, and I think the battle at the front was quite interesting, so it was fun.
Yeah, of course, the battle at the front was a continuation of the championship fight between you and Mirko from last year. Are you looking to be the first one now to finally break that 7 seasons unbeaten streak for Mirko?
Well, I'll try. We'll see. I think there's going to be a lot of chaos this season. So, looking at how the first 2 servers are looking already, it will be a difficult season to be consistent. But no, we'll see. I'll do my best, and then yeah, should be a fun season for sure.
Now, lap cars is not something that you have to deal with often. It's not often that we draw these combos of a small car or of a small track and a quick car. How different was that compared to probably the race you're going to drive in a bit here at Motegi?
Yeah, it was a completely different race, like completely different discipline. This is now, especially with the wet track, it's like driving completely on ice. And Indy Next had so much grip, especially on the small track, that it was quite difficult to get used to. But yeah, you cannot compare it at all. I think also the grid is going to look completely different.
And what do you think then of this next combo? Supercars in the wet at Motegi, difficult track, difficult car, difficult conditions. Is this something you shine in, you think?
I hope so. Right now practice isn't going too well, but no. I think it's going to be important to just put in three decent laps in quali with this average thing, and then yeah, go at it like the last race. Just try to do a solid first race, and then in the reverse grid it will be full chaos again. So I think should be right.
Quick question, because I'm struggling to see this on the live stream at the moment. Is it actually still raining out there, or no, do we have a drying track?
It's not raining. It's just quite wet. Like everything says the track is lightly wet, but there's no grip at all. So.
Okay, well, Rafael, thank you very much for being the only one to come in. We do appreciate it. We'll leave you to practice now, because conditions are quite tricky, and talking to us at the same time might not be completely ideal. Thank you very much, Rafael.
Thank you.
Well, there you go then, Rafael Renova, the first one of the takers. And I have a feeling that might be the only one. Anyways, you did see how much Rafael was struggling out there. Also difficult, I do have to agree, Demon, with what Rafael said. It's difficult to be consistent in a season like this if every server is going to be something like this, with a short track, a quick car, or just a difficult car in general to drive here in server 2 on a difficult track in difficult conditions. It's going to ultimately be difficult to be consistent.
Yes, especially in the rain, and with this type of car, it's already pretty complicated to stay consistent in the dry, I think, because of tire life and yeah, the lack of yaw, I'd say, in this new gen car. So, this was the case. I think a puddle there in front of the Shelby, but
And off he goes.
yeah, that's bound to happen with this car. I'm kind of jealous. I'm also envious of the V8 supercar. I like racing in the rain. So yeah, it should be a very good show.
Interesting pit entry there from Maximilian Maya.
Practicing the race to see where the limit is regarding penalties.
Yeah, I think that's I think that's viable. But how would you best explain this car to someone who doesn't know what it's like to drive? I'll go first for a change. I would say that it has way too much power for the amount of grip that it's able to deliver to you. So on the exit of a corner, you're constantly dancing with the car and trying to get the power down. It's a very difficult car, especially on the exit to drive. The entries you have to take it a lot easier than what you would or than what you would maybe expect. So overall, there's just not enough grip for the amount of power that it's able to provide.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're used to running NASCAR, like trucks, Xfinity, or Cup cars on road courses, it kind of feels similar. But if you're not used to, yeah, you can actually say it kind of feels a little bit. That's maybe not very honest to say, but it feels like a truck sometimes because it feels very heavy. Once weight transfers, you're probably gone if you're not correcting quick enough. So it's a very fine line to go quick with this car. And yeah, like the Porsche 992 Cup, this was more exaggerated. That kind of slow is fast, I'd say, to drive these cars.
Yeah. Also a difference, I think, from the other cars. And I think let's be quite frank. Ooh, Niels Langeveld. Contact. That's Chevy on Ford. That's always been a rivalry, hasn't it? I think we'll see more of that tonight.
Dan, sorry.
Well, there you go. Timon, you can also hear him now. Anyways, thank you to our viewer who informed us of that. Thank you, Winston. But Niels Langeveld continuing his argy-bargy driving from server number 1. Quite a... How do we put the move he tried to pull in server number 1 in heat 1 of that race? Would we say ambitious, or is this going towards the way too ambitious side already?
Well, Dan, to be very honest, I was looking at the timing screens and the incident screens, so I didn't catch the
Fair
incident when I hit the replay button for you to describe what happened, because there was so much going on, especially in those heat races before the consolation and the feature. So yeah, I'll go by your word, Dan.
Well, I would say it was an ambitious one. I also don't think he completely meant to slam it up the inside like he did. I think he just overestimated the stopping power of the car into turn 1, lap 1. A bit ambitious, I would say, but these things happen. That's racing. You do make mistakes, and sometimes that involves other people. That's just how racing works. We've got about 5 minutes left of practice. Where is everyone at then, you might ask? Well, Isaac Fairweather, 3/10 ahead of Maximilian Maya. Maximilian Maya has been second quickest in this practice session for quite a while. So has Isaac Fairweather been at the top. 206 has stood for quite a while now. And Henrik Augustin in P3. Ahead of Mirko Bortolotti in P4. Rafael Renova finds himself in P7. But Isaac Fairweather seems to have put down an absolute belter of a lap. That lap time has stood, I think, practically since 10 minutes into practice, that 206.047. So an absolute belter of a lap.
I don't mean to break up, but I think Isaac is probably the only one from down under. So I guess he's pretty familiar with this car.
Yeah, that's a pretty fair point there to make.
I don't know about the rain though, but the car, yes.
Yeah, rain's well, it depends. I think they get it in kind of bits. So it's either a lot of rain.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Monsoon.
Or it's a lot of sun. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's yeah. So it's either one of the two, but I think that was Isaac Fairweather still struggling with it. Is that the SVG livery on the car?
Yeah, it's in the pits now. I think so. Yes. At least it's the 888 livery. I don't know what season. Who's going?
Now, if you don't know things about me and Timon, it's that one, we're both very big Denny Hamlin fans for NASCAR. Oh, there we go, Timon.
I joined the
There we go, Timon. Yeah, well, there we go. Now nobody likes us anymore because we like cars driving in circles. Anyways.
Current viewers goes down to 0, I see.
Yeah, exactly. But it's also that, I mean, Timon, you kind of have a heart for these cars as well. I would not know what car Shane van Gisbergen drove. I don't know when. But you seem to have quite the understanding. Did you follow this championship back in the day, or are you following it even still today?
Yeah, I just finished watching the Bathurst 1000 last weekend, I believe.
Oh.
It was an amazing race. Also a lot of rain. near the end of the race. So yeah, I'm a big V8 supercars fan. Yes.
Now, if you have watched that race, my question is, will we see a driver pull off today, ask his engineer if he's allowed to drink a beer, and then, well, basically park the car behind a concrete wall and then go drink a beer with fans?
I'd probably say few drivers will drink a beer, but unfortunately we're not there to witness it. I hope they wait till after they either DNF or finish the race before they start with it.
Yeah, never drink and drive, kids.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, but that was a great moment. I believe it was what's his name again? Pretty familiar face in the V8 supercars. I'd say Moffat, but it wasn't Moffat. It was a different driver. But great.
It wasn't
great.
Chaz, was it?
Yeah, Chaz Mostert.
Chaz Mustard. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, great scenes, great scenes. But it's probably a familiar spot to fetch beer. So it was well known that when you had to park the car there, someone would be waiting you with a 6-pack of beers. It's kind of a tradition, I believe.
Yeah, yeah. Well, as Chaz himself said, let's do it the Aussie way.
Yeah.
I do want to see. Now, okay, here we go. I'll challenge Isaac Fairweather, if he does win this race, to an Aussie, oi, shoey that he has to post in the W12 Discord if he does win this race. I want to see a shoey, come on.
Yeah.
If he wins in a car from down under, being one from down under, well, I think that would be cool. Anyways, a minute left. Isaac Fairweather is on top. Can he replicate that lap in qualifying? We see cars struggle to even get away from their pit boxes.
The grip should be terrible with cold tires leaving the pits in the rain. Oh.
That driver had a bit too much Jägermeister. Got it for free looking at the car. Mirko Bortolotti in a plain pink car. Yep, still don't condone that, and still don't advise it either. Please don't do that. Mirko Bortolotti in a bright pink car. That's going to be nice and easy for you to spot and for me to spot, Timon. Now watch me forget it. It's difficult though, because I can't see visible numbers on the cars. I think that's either on the windshield.
Yeah, on the windshield.
Ooh, but it's very small.
Yeah, the number on the screen, on the windscreen is the number on track, position on track, and the number on the side windscreen or side screen is the car number they use. So, yeah, quite a task for you, because I will be muting my mic in just a few seconds, and I wish you good luck.
Well, here we go then. If you have more of the same action that we had in server number 1, oh boy, we're up for a challenge. First of all, Timon is going to have to try and follow all the action. Wish you good luck with that, sir. And for me, well, can my voice stay alive for the whole server? That's the question. About 3 hours of full-on action. Now we look with the champion. Now, from past seasons, we know that Mirko Bortolotti is quite okay in these cars. And I say quite okay. He's pretty damn good in these cars. Qualifying format is a 3-lap average. And the laps are going to take a bit longer. 11 minutes you have. And we saw the lap times earlier. It's going to take quite a bit for you to get round. So drivers have to leave pits early here. Remember, as soon as the clock hits 0, there's no time anymore for the drivers to finish their laps. As soon as the clock hits 0, that's your qualifying done, no matter where you are on track. Mirko Bortolotti trying to warm up his tires as well. I do have to say though, these supercars, they sound awesome. Tricky conditions in a tricky car. Let's see how many drivers at the end of this one won't have a qualifying lap time on the board as it starts raining. It started raining again. That might have been very locally though, because it doesn't seem like it's raining over at this end of the track. It might reach us soon though. Well, here we go then, down the back straight. It's a long back straight, this one. Mirko still trying to warm up his tires slightly. Here we go then. Through the last couple of corners. I say we jump on board then for a lap with Mirko Bortolotti. Let's see how difficult it is to drive these cars in these conditions. Important, you keep it on track. That's the absolute most important thing in this qualifying session. Tricky conditions. If you can keep it on track, I think you'll be ahead of half of the field already. Second gear through turn 1 and turn 2. Then a long run down to turn 3. A sort of double left-hander as well. You can attack the apex of turn 4 a little earlier. Because it is rounded off a little, so you can attack it a bit more. But look at the puddles that you're going to have to try and avoid. Then we head over to the left-hand side for turn 5. The right-hander leads to a flat-out part under the bridge. And then the right-hander will hear a slight lift from Mirko. There was that lift, and then flat out once again back down to turn 7. We'll do a lap with commentary, and in a bit we'll let you enjoy one without. And we'll just let you listen to the beautiful V8 sound of these V8 supercars. The Gen 3. Oh, struggling on the exit to get the power down. Now then, the hairpin. Lots of time can be won or lost here. The exit needs to be good for Mirko. This is a long run. Opposite lock on the exit of the hairpin. Down the long straight. It's a downhill braking zone though into the last sector of the racetrack. Nice and early braking for Mirko. And now comes the most difficult section to carry the speed through in these conditions. He'll take the risk. He'll get it back over to the left, back over to the right, and back onto the start-finish straight. And that is a lap. Around this also tricky circuit, Motegi. Here he is then. Nice and fair weather. We'll let you enjoy a lap with the Australian from down under in a car that he should know pretty well. Well then, that was your lap with Isaac Fairweather. And it might not have been one of the quickest laps around here today, but it damn was a cool one to be on board with. Opposite lock in several of the corners, sliding into the last sector. It was a damn cool lap to be on board with Isaac Fairweather. And he is improving through all of the sectors this time round. Quickest lap time, that's the only thing I can literally tell you, has been set by Jonas Vana. Rafael Renhofer with the second quickest lap time of the session. Mirko Bortolotti down in P9 with his fastest lap time. Now the question is, what did he do on all the other laps? Because at the end of the day, it is a 3-lap average, and drivers are still on lap 3 of their average. This is a bit of a different server, this one, so we'll have a 15-minute heat race with all drivers included, and then we will have a 18-minute feature race with a reversed grid from the result of race number 1, so of heat 1. And the top 20 of the main race will be reversed. All right then, Jonas Vana has gone even quicker. 205.2. I think it's like Rafael Renhofer mentioned. It's a drying track out there. Track is becoming quicker and quicker as we go on. Chanter up into P6. Chanter was one of the drivers that we didn't see in server number 1. Well then, I think that was qualifying for all of our drivers. No, there are still some drivers on the lap. Stefano Pellegrino, Ben Buhnagel. Those drivers are still on a lap, but they are on lap number 3 and they haven't registered a lap before. So I think even though they are on a lap, I don't think they will set a average of 3 lap time. Just because one of their laps was invalid, had a track limit. And just because of that, you will have a 3-lap qualifying average of 0. Might be, even though it's quite basic. One of my favorite liveries out there tonight. Jens Fiedler. Back into the pits he goes. Testing the limits a bit more sensibly there then. For Bravio Fliatore Bobsport. Love the name. Twin Ring Motegi, the oval with an integrated road course. And here we have it then. This is the grid for the main race and the race where the starting grid is set from qualifying. Jonas Vana will start from pole position alongside Niels Langeveld in P2. Maximilian Maya in P3, Andrea Frasinetti 4th, Hugo Zasse 5th, Ivan Ferrari in 6th, Mirko Bortolotti 7th, Martin Stadtmann in 8th, Leon Blum 9th, and Jens Fiedler in P10. Robert Heger P11, Martin Jordanowski in P12, Florian Stadtmann P13, Mario Truma P14, Henrik Steurer 15th, Jan Lind 16th, Robin Rogalski in P17, and René Reusler P18. Christian Ableson 19th, Mario Herzog in P20, P21 for Rafael Renhofer, all the way down on P21. So our winner of server number 1 has to come from behind. Chanter in P20, P20 or P22, P23 for Hendrik Augustin, P24 for Isaac Fairweather. So driver quickest in practice, couldn't replicate that in qualifying. Bernhard Geberger, P25, Anton Abe, P26, P27 for Chris Steiner, Callum Luxton P28, P29 for Marius Zoek, and Maximilian Paul down in P30. Hugo Rob finds himself in P31, Lucas Baza P32, Michael Dörlinger in P33, Tim Opitz in P34, P35 for Michiel Haverens, and P36 for Christoph Hatos. P37 then for Stefano Pellegrino, Patrick Dangel in P38, Ben Buhnagel 39th, and Davy Ewema in P40. Let's get to the grid then, with Jonas Wana on your right-hand side, Niels Langeveld on your left-hand side. The lights are out, the green flag is out, we're go for the main race here at Motegi. It's a great start from the second row from the Italian. Andrea Frasinetti gets away splendid and takes the lead down on the turn 1. Track still wet, will we see any cars off to the left-hand side into the gravel trap? It seems like we're all getting through turn 1 at least, and that's it. And that's a change for server number 1. Andrea Frasinetti looking to open up the gap to Jonas Wana already. Niels Langeveld will look to catch back up to the German. Maximilian Meyer will look to stay ahead of Mirko Bortolotti. Mirko Bortolotti though had a good start. Ivan Ferrari P6, Hugo Zasse 7th, Martin Stadtmann 9th, Marinko Rudanovsky 9th. Jens Fiedler, after the first couple of corners, rounds off the top 10. Lots of that is still to change though. Qualifying important in this session. René Rösler, he is ahead of Augustin Geberger and Marius Zug. Robert Heger, this is the battle for P17. Around the outside goes Rafael Renhofer. Needs to catch back up, set consistency would be key. There's a car off to the right-hand side as well. I think that's Leon Blum. There's another... Oh, there's a contact there actually between Mario Herzog and Jan Linz, I think. Michael Dörlinger also involved in that. Isaac Fairweather has made his way up into P10 already. Renhofer still down in P16 though. Isaac Fairweather up 14, Chanter up 11. Biggest gainers in the opening laps. Up the inside, that's, I was going to say that's just way too late. But all of a sudden there's a car facing backwards. And then there's no way to go. Unlucky there. I think that was Patrick Dangel. Here comes Christoph Hatos, and he just gets a head-on collision with the 555 of Jan Linz. Unlucky for both of them. Hugo Rob finds himself in 17th, also up 14 positions. Ben Buhnagel, 24th for him, also up 15. So we have 3 drivers who have gained 15 positions. As I say that, Ben Buhnagel gains another, up 16 now, biggest gainer in the field. Isaac Fairweather up into P9. Can he stay there in the top 10? Andrea Frasinetti at the front of the field still keeps the lead ahead of Jonas Wana in P2. Niels Langeveld in P3 ahead of Maximilian Meyer in 4th. And then Mirko Bortolotti finds himself in 5th. The gap between the top 5 though, about 4.2 seconds. Everyone keeping each other honest at the front. Further back in the field, the same is the case. Hendrik Augustin being kept honest by Ben Buhnagel. Callum Lux in front of him, Henrik Steurer in P22, just right in front of that. Isaac Fairweather all squirmy out of the last corner, but he does manage to overtake Martin Stadtmann. But how long can these tires hang on for Isaac Fairweather? Martin Stadtmann looking up the inside. Can't find his way through. He's coming out of the hairpin actually, not coming out of the last corner. Isaac Fairweather 7.5 seconds back of the lead. Can he start to gain back on that? Not with an exit like that. But Martin Stadtmann follows him. The inside trying to defend the inside. Martin Stadtmann says, no, that inside will be mine, sir. Up the inside goes Martin. The outside for Isaac Fairweather. Trying to carry his way around. It will work for the first part of the corner, but the traction will be worse because he's on the normal racing line on the rubber. And Martin Stadtmann very smartly defending the inside going into turn 3. Going a bit deep though, the over-under, and he just way too deep into the corner for Martin Stadtmann. Isaac Fairweather gets back P8 just by putting pressure on Martin. Rafael Renhofer, now the driver behind Martin Stadtmann. He finds himself now in P12. Still has quite a bit of this race left to make up some more positions. This is back earlier on in the race. Is that Mirko Bortolotti involved there in the pink car? No, that's down in P30. I don't think that's Mirko Bortolotti. One thing's for sure, I think that's Michiel Haverens done for this race. Michael Dullinger also had an off moment. Car seems to be quite fine though. Mario Herzog. There's a car off there on the right as well. Oh, okay, I think that is, yeah. Oh, Maximilian Paul, is that Maximilian? Oh, that's Maximilian Paul in P30. And there's that contact. Does that have anything to do with Maximilian Paul? I don't know if you can see an onboard there. But it looked like, to me, there might have been contact with a Maximilian Paul who was rejoining the track. Isaac Fairweather still up in P8. It's a majestic drive from Isaac Fairweather. Up 16. Showed his pace in practice. Then couldn't convert that pace in practice to a good qualifying position. But even without that, finds himself in the top 10. In P8 even. And Isaac Fairweather, what more is possible for him? We've just completed 3 laps of this race. Once again, we look at Michael Dullinger. And once again, it's Michael Dullinger going around and deciding that a 360 looks much better than a 180. There's a car coming in the background as well there still. That was Robert Hega. Here's Marco Bortolotti, and he has to look backwards instead of forwards. Lovely gearbox cam. As we look back at the car of Ivan Ferrari. Getting all squirmy. Keep that camera stable for us, Mirko. Your tires will thank you at the end of it. Once again, all squirmy, but that's also squirmy for Ivan Ferrari. Big snap for the Italian. Well, for both Italians, but a bigger one for Ivan Ferrari. And he loses loads of time because of it. Drops back about 2 seconds from the rear of Mirko Bortolotti. Isaac Fairweather, in the meantime, gets past Hugo Zasse. It doesn't stop there, though, for Isaac Fairweather. With that mistake, he's now only a second away from P6. He's matching Hugo Ropp for most positions gained in this race. Both have got 17. Isaac Fairweather, though, jumps into pit lane. Pit stop mandatory in this race. He won't make it to the end on the fuel anyways. Isaac Fairweather decides that now is the time for him to make that pit stop. That might be a little early. What we've seen is that the overcut can be quite strong in the W12 Sprint Series. due to all the traffic you have to deal with once you come out of the pits. On board here then with Niels Langeveld. He's on the back of Andrea Frasinetti. But all of this, well, at least being concerned about each other that they're doing, is allowing Jonas Vana slowly but surely to lead up the road. Was that a mistake there from Andrea Frasinetti? Does that allow Niels Langeveld back up the inside? Yes, it does allow him to very much close up. The Italian just went wide into the left-hander. Is he going to do the same thing again? Niels Langeveld tries to outbrake him, but on the normal racing line, that is just not possible. Gap back up to half a second, but a mistake there from the Italian opened the door for the Dutchman to have a look. And it also allowed Jonas Vana at the front of the field to create himself an even bigger buffer to drivers behind. 10 minutes gone. Soon we'll look for all of these drivers to come into the pits as well. The question is, can they make it to the end on fuel because of the rain? Of course, your lap times are slower, you're doing less laps, you're using less fuel. Oh, well, depending on how you look at it. In iRacing, you might actually use more. Mirko Bortolotti decides to stay out on this lap. Niels Langeveld, Maya, Stadtman. Oh no, Stadtman stays out. But Ferrari, Chanter, Jordanovski, Geberger, Abe, Truma, Stadtman, all deciding to come in this time round. Deciding that now is the best time. And this is great for drivers that pitted early, not having to overtake them at all. Niels Langeveld, one of those drivers. He's not the first ones to, or the first of the drivers who have pitted. Jonas Vana at the front, even though he's leading by about 6 seconds. A mistake in these conditions is quickly made. And as you saw there, he's very much at the limit of grip. So as soon as he goes over that, Jonas Vana is facing backwards. That 7-second gap that he has now is quickly gone. And quickly eaten into by Andrea Frasinetti and Mirko Bortolotti behind. The question is, when are they going to make their pit stop? Strategy very much a part as well of the W12 Sprint Series. 7 seconds the gap now between Jonas Vana, Andrea Frasinetti. No pressure on the pit stop for Jonas Vana, that's for sure. There's pressure on the pit stop for Frasinetti and Mirko Bortolotti. They could well gain positions if they have a quick one. Jens Fiedler, no pressure on his pit stop. Also 4 seconds back to Martin Stadtman. Marius Zug also 4 seconds back of that. So no real pressure pit stops here at the front. But Jonas Vana, Frasinetti, Bortolotti, all deciding to come in now. Fiedler follows. Is Martin Stadtman also going to come in, or is he going to continue for a lap? No, Martin Stadtman also comes into the pit lane. So does Marius Zug. Hugo Rob, will he come in as well? Currently, Marius Zug and Hugo Rob, 23 and 24 positions gained, respectively. Pit exit then going to be oh so crucial. There goes Niels Langeveld. Niels Langeveld might have well done the undercut here, you know. He has lost some time, I think, on Jonas Vana. Somehow, Jonas Vana, through all of that, has gained time. Where has our second place driver gone? Where has even Ferrari gone? He's dropped back behind Mirko Bortolotti. Like I said, the position could be gained there. But Isaac Fairweather up into P3. He was the first driver to stop. I said this might be too early, but Isaac Fairweather finds himself in a genuine P3. Niels Langeveld, oh, deep into the corner, and that is why he finds himself in P3. Here comes Isaac Fairweather, and past he got. So it's on him now to defend that podium spot. Isaac Fairweather up 21 positions, by far the most positions gained now in this race, but by far also the driver with the biggest pressure on him. Niels Langeveld, Mirko Bortolotti and Ivan Ferrari both hungry for his position. Mirko Bortolotti throughout that pit stop phase has also gained some time towards Niels Langeveld and both Isaac Fairweather actually. Was staring at the back of a P4 and is now staring at the back of a P3. Still having to overtake Niels Langeveld if he wants to get back in the position where he was before the pit stops. But Isaac Fairweather is holding up quite well here. At the moment, he's not even allowing Niels Langeveld nor Mirko Bortolotti to even have the thought of going for a move. And I think with, what, 1 3/4 of a lap still to go, because I think next lap will be last lap if I look at the times we're running. It's not long before Isaac Fairweather crosses the line in a podium position. Giberga looks set to take another silver victory. If we look at the silver standings for a second, Giberga is leading the way there. Second in the silver standings is Ben Buhnagel and Christian Ablasa in P3, but those drivers quite the ways back. Ben Buhnagel finds himself 13 seconds back of Bernhard Giberga, and all of them have made their pit stops. There you go, here is the silver standings. Ben Buhnagel, second, Christian Ablasa in P3. But there's loads of time between all of those drivers. There's about 7 seconds between Ben Buhnagel and Christian Ablasa. Bernhard Giberga still 14 seconds almost ahead of P2. So it looks like positions are set there if no mistakes are made. Here's Giberga up the inside. This is for overall position. That's up the inside of Marinka Jordanovski. Doesn't need this position if he just goes for the silver championship. But there's more than that to fight for these drivers. That's the great thing of the overall championship. Niels Langeveld still putting the pressure on Isaac Fairweather. Coming through to the white flag now. Oh, there's the mistake. There's the mistake from Isaac Fairweather. Is Mirko Bortolotti also going to get past? The answer to that question is a convincing yes. Isaac Fairweather looks around the outside, can't quite make it round. Just a logistical question maybe. Here, I don't know if my producer can figure this out in the meantime. Maybe between the switch of this server. But if Isaac Fairweather is from Australia, what time is he racing now? Because of course, well, I think 95% of this server is from Europe. So they race in Central European time. And for us locally, I think it's 20 to 51 at the moment. But I'm interested to see what it is for Isaac Fairweather. We'll try and figure it out in between the breaks of the races. There's a warm-up in between, so we'll have some time. But Jonas Vana has had a commanding race at the front and is coming through even on this long lap to lap Mario as I do get the whisper in my ear that it's 8 in the morning for Isaac. That's quite okay still. Expected it to be even earlier, actually, for Isaac. But, I mean, that's dedication for Isaac to still race in the W12 Sprint Series at 8 in the morning. Remember, and he had to start about an hour and a half ago. So he started at about 6 in the morning for him this weekend. Isaac Fairweather, has he made another mistake? Has he dropped down the order? No, he hasn't. Actually, has he got back past both of them? Mirko Bortolotti, that's one past. Did he also... Yes, he did. Niels Langeveld made a mistake. And that allowed Isaac Fairweather back past. Have they crossed the line? They're coming to cross the line now. Jonas Vana, in the meantime, has won the race. But Isaac Fairweather finishes P3 ahead of both Niels Langeveld and Mirko Bortolotti. Crazy race once again. But the Australian, in the cars that he so dearly loves, manages to finish on the podium. Geberga wins the Silver Championship again. And oh boy, is he happy with that. Up 21 positions, by far the most positions gained in the field. Next best is Ben Buhnagel in 21st, up 18. Mario Herzog up 17. Callum Lux up 14. Up 16 is Hugo Rob. Quite a lot of big gainers here. Rafael Rettenhofer up 7. Minimizes the damage. And the points lost to Mirko Bortolotti. And Chanter in P9 up 13 as well. Stefano Pellegrino up 10 in P27. Loads and loads and loads of big gainers. But the biggest of them all, Isaac Fairweather up 21 in P3. And takes a podium home in the main race. Top 20 though, going to be reversed. So the timing tower, as you see it on the left-hand side, will be completely reversed going into the feature race. Into the reverse grid race. Jonas Vana will start from P20. And Andrea Frasinetti will start on pole position. And then I think we're waiting for one more driver to cross the finish line before we can get the results up. And there he comes. Christoph Hatos, one of our rookie drivers, last one to cross the start-finish line. And that means we can now take a look at the race results for the main race here in server number 2. One more to go to decide who's going to win the reversed grid race. And we'll reverse the top 20. Jonas Vana takes the win in the main race ahead of Maximilian Maya. Isaac Fairweather in 3rd, Niels Langeveld in 4th, Mirko Bortolotti in 5th. Not the race that both the championship protagonists this early on in the season were hoping for. Ivan Ferrari in 6th, Rafael Renova 7th, Jens Fiedler in 8th, Chanter 9th, and Hugo Zasse in P10. Martin Stadtmann in P11, Marius Zug in P12, Hendrik Augustin in P13, Callum Lux in 14th, Hugo Rob in 15th, Bernhard Geberga wins the Silver Cup and finishes P16 overall. Quite a respectable finishing position for the silver driver. Marinko Jordanovski in 17th, Robin Rogalski in P18, Henrik Störer P19, and Andrea Frasinetti, our pole sitter for race number 2. In server number 2, the reverse top 20 feature race. Well then, we have a 4-minute warm-up session for drivers just to calm down after that chaotic and, well, in terms of concentration and physically very demanding race that they've just had. And time for me to take a drink. Didn't get the time to do that during the race. My goodness me, the action was high again. Yes, I agree, Winston. There's no better there's no better way of starting your day than starting your day with W12. And that's what Isaac Fairweather is doing at the moment. You must wonder, how happy must he be for the rest of the day if he starts his day with W12 on the Monday? I mean, we over here in Europe, we have to do a whole work day, especially a Monday, Timon. With the prospect in mind, okay, I now have to work a full 8-hour work day. I have to wait these 8 hours, then go home, and then I'm allowed to drive W12. That's just not the case for Isaac Fairweather. He just says in the morning, you know what, I'll just drive W12 today, and then I'll happily go to work and annoy my boss about the fact that I performed so well in the W12 Sprint Series, and I'll tell everyone about it.
That's the life of a sim racer, right?
Yeah, there you go. Dedication, though. If you think about the fact that he had to start at about 7 or 6 in the morning for him with server number 1. I mean, that's getting up early. And if you have a whole work day still ahead of you, I can tell you that's early, getting up at 6 in the morning. But if you perform well, you know, it's all worth it.
Depends also what kind of race you start, because you also can do a 24-hour race and then just have the whole weekend off. Right, Dan?
Yeah. Yeah. There we go. I had a feeling it would be mentioned in this broadcast. I won't elaborate. And nobody has to know. As Ben Buhnagel decides that turn 3 does not exist. Decides to take some more gravel onto the track because there wasn't enough on there yet. Well then, that is our 4-minute warm-up session gone, done and dusted. Let's have a look then at our reversed top 20 grid. Andrea Frasinetti starts from pole position. Henrik Steurer in second. Robin Rogalski in P3. Marinko Jordanovski in fourth. I'm actually feeling Marinko Jordanovski here for this race. I have a feeling he's going to do well. He might be up in the top 3. Bernhard Geberger will start in P5. Hugo Ropp in 6th. Also someone who I'm looking to do, or who I'm looking at to do really, really well in this reverse grid race. Callum Lux in P7, Hendrik Augustin in 8th, Marius Zug 9th, Maarten Stadtman in P10, Hugo Zasse in P11, Sean Ter in P12, P13 for Jens Fiedler, Rafael Renova 14th, Ivan Ferrari in P15, Mirko Bortolotti 16th, Niels Langeveld in 17th, Isaac Fairweather 18th, Maximilian Maier in 19th, and Jonas Vana in P20. That's how they're going to start for this race then. The 5 red lights are coming on already. Andrea Frasinetti on the right-hand side. Left-hand side of the screen is Henrik Steurer. It's a great start though for Andrea Frasinetti. Nobody's going to challenge him in a turn 1 as the whole field rushes past us. There's cars off on the right-hand side already. Who is that? That's Marinko Jordanovski. And, well, I'll take the blame for that one. I said he was going to do well. He was one of the drivers I had my eyes on to do well on in this race. And well, to be honest, well, it went wrong before he even reached turn 1. So I'll hold my hands up again and say commentator curse has striked this season for the 2nd time, and it's only server 2. Oh boy, gonna be a long season like this. Andrea Frasinetti still ahead of Henrik Steurer. Callum Lux now in P3, up 4 positions. Marius Zug up 5 in the opening lap. He's up in P5 as well. Lots of drivers struggling for grip on the rear end. Here we go. Oh, there's that contact. Was that Mirko Bortolotti involved? That's my question. Was that Mirko Bortolotti involved? I have a feeling it might have been. Yeah, it was. It was Mirko Bortolotti involved. Indeed it was. Mirko Bortolotti involved in a crash at the start. And that's something that, well, historically, he's been able to avoid really, really well. That is lucky that that car, back onto the apex. That's not lucky at all. I thought that car was going to miss everyone, but spinning back onto the apex, that must have been a prospect. Mirko Bortolotti, 90 degrees sideways to the racing line. That must not be an ideal approach to turn 1 either. Oh, unlucky. It's contact with Isaac Fairweather, I think, for the Shell V-Power car. And that spins him into Mirko Bortolotti. Andrea Frasinetti at the front now. Has found his feet. And has opened up a second gap to Henrik Steurer. Oh, more contact. I think that's the other pink car. That's not Mirko Bortolotti, as we see it on the side. Ben Buhnagel. Big spin for him as well. I think he touched the wall. Another replay. That's another spin. Maximilian Paul. Ay, ay, ay. Another spin. Lots of chaos on the reverse grid race. And this was kind of to be expected. With loads of drivers being out of position. Jan Lins, also one of the drivers after contact, who found his way facing the opposite direction. Meanwhile, though, at the front of the field, Frasinetti, 1.1 second gap ahead of Geberga. That would be a feat, wouldn't it? Geberga in his first W12 week to pick up a podium as a silver driver. It's a feat that has been done before. But the question is, will he be able to do it again? No, he won't! There's contact again! With, well, Henrik Steurer is off. That gives Geberga a bigger gap behind, but Steurer will be fuming. Bad luck strikes again. Look at the Kazakh car on the outside. Gets a snap on the puddle. Just as I got the whisper in my ear, there's a dry line forming. Turns out those puddles can still catch people out. And I don't think we'll see a switch to dry weather tires to slicks in this race. Oh, there are actually some drivers, if I look at my timing screen, that have started on slicks. That might be why the chaos is here. So then, Frasinetti on the wets. Geberga on the dries. Rob on the dries. Chanter on the wets. Martin Stadtmann dries. Hugo Sasse dries. Geberga moves up into P1 with the dries. The dries seem to be the preferable tire as soon as you get them up to temperature. That explains a bit of the chaos maybe then at the opening lap of the race. But here you can see the tire compound on the left-hand side. It's crucial now then for Hugo Rob to get past ASAP. Not to lose too much time to Geberga. But what a feat that would be. Hugo Rob all over the front. Oh, Frasinetti. Too much, too early on the wet line. And that is the problem if you have dry tires. You can't overtake because there's only one dry line. And if the driver with the wet tire occupies that, there's just no way of you getting past. This is going to be a difficult race for anyone behind Frasinetti. And Geberga might be in optimum position to take the win in this race. He's all over the place though. Big snap. Good catch though from Geberga. Incredible save. Saving me from another commentator curse in this race. Frasinetti though, once again, you see after Geberga catches himself back up, takes his time to get his heartbeat down, get some new underwear. The gap is going back up. Hugo Rob now 3.7 seconds back of Frasinetti. Chanter, next driver on the wets. Martin Stadtmann, Hugo Sasse on the dries as well. Oh, big snap for Chanter. Those dry tires are starting to give up, starting to give way. As he's going to carry it all the way around the outside. No, he's not. Going to slot back in behind Martin Stadtmann. There is some damage, though, on the front of that Ford, I think. On the right-hand side, there is some damage. Up 4 positions, though, Bernhard Geberga. Hugo Rob now has gotten past. No, it's Andrea Frasinetti who's in the pits. Now, the question is he going to change tires, or is he going to stick with what he has? 20-minute reverse grid race. That's a long, long time still for Geberga to hang on to what he has. And Hugo Hop is quickly eating into that advantage. But as we know with Hugo Hop, it's very often one of the two extremes. He's either very, very fast or he's in the wall. Let's hope for Hugo Hop that this time round it'll be the first of the two and not the latter. Drivers on the wets now are really starting to struggle. Hugo Zasse, fastest lap time, 2:02.2. The crossover isn't that big. Drivers on the wets are still able to lap within a second or two of the dry tires. And with the long lap times that we have, that's not surprising. I think the problem is for those wet tire runners, the track is only going to evolve towards those dry runners, and they're only going to start losing more and more time, overheating the wet tire. The dry tire is coming more into their window. The only advantage that they have is that they're safe. Mirko Bortolotti, also one of the drivers, struggling on the dry tires. Mirko Bortolotti is being shown as having a black flag though. This could be a horror race for Mirko Bortolotti. I haven't seen this overlay be wrong yet. So what's the penalty for? Was it speeding in pit lane? Was it an unsafe pit entry? Something that's possible in these tricky conditions. If you do cut over the white line, well, it's your evening ruined. It's a 40-second stop and hold for an unsafe pit entry. Mirko, just in general, though, seems to be struggling. Henrik Stöger has found the wall again. After his contact earlier on in the race, which spun him into the barrier, he's found the wall or some type of barrier again. Coming up now to halfway though in this race, and Geberga still leading by about 2 seconds over Hugo Hop. Martin Stadman now the last driver on the podium. He himself though is almost 10 seconds ahead of Rogalski on the wets. Here comes Mirko Bortolotti, and I have a... Oh no, he's gonna get another one, is he? He's gonna get another one, is he? Mirko Bortolotti might just have a horror race. We'll see. It might just be a drive-through. Here's the pit. Oh my goodness me. I hope for Mirko Bortolotti that's not another penalty. Oh, it is. Oh, it is. Oh, Mirko, what have you done? Or that black flag just needs a bit of time to clear, but it might well be the case. Mirko has to come back in again. And that's, well, I think we can, fairly say that's Mirko Bortolotti out of the running for the win in this race and any type of result. This could be a race that could swing the favors far, far in the direction of Rafael Renhofer and all the other drivers around him. Bernhard Geberga is coming into the pits. Let's hope he had a safe pit entry. Lots of drivers with black flags out there though. Jens Fiedler, Jan Lins. These are all drivers that haven't stopped yet though. On the bottom right you can see the pit stop strategy. And Geberga, clearly the first of those drivers from the front to pit. Hugo Rob will try and stay out as long as possible to try and overcut Geberga. But the pit entry will be a big part of that. Bernhard had it safe. Mirko Bortolotti did not. Twice in a row. Michael Döllinger. Is he going to have a spin here? Just touch the wet part. Yes, he is. Whoop, around he goes. No, actually, he hasn't. He's managed to save it. Good job. Well done, Michael Döllinger. Anton Abe. Oh, just touches the wet part. And round he goes. Makes it a 360 for good measure. As in the meantime, Isaac Fairweather is posting the fastest lap of the race. 1:59.427. And Jonas Vana says, well, I think going straight on here might be a good idea. And then says, I've had enough. Bernhard Geberger up into P4. 24 seconds back on Hugo Rob. I don't know how much you lose driving through pit lane. But if it's 14 seconds, then this is going to be a close one. To think that we've only had 5 laps in this race for most drivers. Isaac Fairweather has not been able to repeat the feat of the race earlier on. He finds himself in P15. Still loads of drivers in front of him have to pit though, but I don't think there will be many positions of it that he will pick up. Hugo Rob is in the pit. Now the question is, where will he be compared to Geberger as Chris Steiner picks up another black flag, and he's another one to fall for the black flag and the penalty on pit entry. Hugo Rob comes out behind Geberger by 5.6 seconds. What's happened to Hugo Rob that he lost about 4 or 5 seconds to Geberger in the pit stop phase? Chris Steiner's going to have to clear it. Stadtmann has also have a penalty down on P33. Mirko Bortolotti finally has cleared his. Oh, disqualification for Haverens. Race control have had enough with the incident points, and that's disqualification. The black flag with the white cross through it, that's something. That's a flag that all the drivers should look at. The black flags throughout the field. Jordanovski, Jan Lins, Hugo Zasse, Jens Fiedler. All drivers just falling for the penalty on pit entry. And this is all playing into the hands of Mirko Bortolotti. And even more so into the hands of Bernhard Geberger. Could he do something that is very rarely seen? It's not only his debut in the W12 Sprint Series, but it's also a silver driver who's about to win overall. If he can keep this run going, 6 more minutes to survive. It's about 3 more laps from here. The gap is 6 seconds. 2 seconds a lap is a lot for Hugo Rob to overturn. But there's also a lot still that can go wrong at the front. Pressure will start to build on Bernhard Geberger. How much pressure is the question, though? Will he put on himself? And there's another one. Anton Abe. Another one to fall for the black flag. Hugo Zasse. It's gone wrong at this point already for him. Touches the curb and off he goes. Bonk. Yeah, that's a hefty hit. Left front suspension gone completely. That's how easy it can catch you out. Hendrik Steurer! Yeah, there we go. That's the classic. Trying to react or having to react to a driver in front of you spinning. And I bet you that Gazak's driver that came past thought that he was going to be involved in it too. Anton Abe. Oh my goodness me. Big snap. Stefano Pellegrino. Just a wide moment for him. Lots of drivers struggling with the conditions. And then deciding that he's had enough for tonight. Been a good ride for week number 1 for him. Bernhard Geberger now having to deal with traffic. And that traffic gets out of the way nice and early for him. Still some drivers out there on wets. Chanter biting it out on the wets. First driver on the wets. Rogalski in P11 also still on the wets. And Jens Fiedler in 14th also on the wets. You can see it on the graphic on your left hand side. The white wall tires are the dries. The blue wall are the wets. And at this point in the race, if I look at the pace that Ivan Ferrari is setting, 158.227, compared to the pace that Sean Terre is setting, the tires are just about 6 seconds quicker a lap. So I'm expecting Sean Terre to bleed about 12 to 15 seconds still towards the end of this race. So I'm expecting him even to fall down to about P10 between Ivan Ferrari and Rogalski. As long as they don't lose too much time. And he's going to have to hang it out there. Our last lap was better. 2:03.384. If you can keep that up, he might be able to keep himself in the top 10 here. In the top 8 maybe. Ivan Ferrari 41 seconds back. Bernhard Geberger, second to last lap of the race for him now. 3.5 seconds the gap. That's still a hefty margin, but it's been eaten into by quite a bit by Hugo Robb here and Andrea Frasinetti. Oh, contact between Frasinetti and Stadtmann. No, that's a lapped car. It's a lapped car that made contact with Andrea Frasinetti. He won't be happy with that, I can tell you that much. Well then, last lap of the race for these drivers soon. Here comes Geberger to start what will be the last lap of the race. Can he do something historical? And that is not only win on debut, but win as a silver driver. Left-hand side of screen, Barney will be frantically waving the white flag. And Bernhard Geberger starts it as the leader. I think if you would have asked the bookies before this evening, what was the chance that Bernhard Geberger would win a race? And if you'd bet on it, I think you'll be a millionaire by the end of this race. Hugo Robb will try and do everything in his power to take that away from him. But he has driven a majestic race. The driver running the 0:42 in the Ford at the front. Rafael Renhoff in the meantime having an off moment. Isaac Fairweather finds his way back up to P10. Sean Terre, I think, will be able to keep P8. Ooh, the inside though. Oh, contact, and Marius Zook is off. I think that was to be expected between those two. As soon as we saw them both brake late going into the corner. Or for one final time though, Bernhard Geberger goes through the hairpin at the back end of the track. Just a few more corners to go to make history in the W12 Sprint Series. Because something that has never been done before is winning as a silver driver on debut. And that's a feat that Bernhard Geberger is going to complete in race number 2 of server number 2. Bernhard Geberger wins the feature race at Motegi. Hugo Robb tried everything, got close, got to about a second of Bernhard Geberger, but couldn't quite get close enough. Andrea Frasinetti gets back to P3, and Martin Stadtmann gets to P4. Top 5 is rounded off by Maximilian Meyer. Niels Langeveld hasn't crossed the start-finish line yet. That's the battle for P10. Marius Zook, Sean Terre. Oh, 600s between those two. Here comes Niels Langeveld on the dries. Ahead of Rogalski on the wets. Martin Jordanovsky. I jinxed him at the beginning. Commentator cursed him. But he still comes home to finish a strong P15. After he didn't even make it to turn 1. Timo Pits. No headlights. In the dark. I know how that feels. Trust me. Talking about Le Mans this weekend. Luckily for him though, it's not quite night yet. Spotting the puddles though will be a little more difficult. Can he keep it on track? For just a couple more corners to round off another top 20 finish. Christian Ablasa right in front of him. Will round the final corner to finish 19th. Behind him is Timo Pits. And that is it for tonight's W12 Sprint Series season number 8. It's been an absolute classic. And if that doesn't get you excited for next week, then I don't know what does. Let's have one final look though at the results. Bernard Geberga wins ahead of Hugo Rob in second, Andrea Frasinetti in third, Martin Stadtmann in fourth, Maximilian Maya in fifth, Rafa Renhofer in sixth. Makes a great jump towards that championship early on already towards Mirko Bortolotti, who was busy clearing black flags for half of the race. P7, Sean Ter, Ivan Ferrari P8, Marius Suk in ninth, and Isaac Fairweather down in P10. Nope. There we go. Niels Langeveld in P11 ahead of Robin Rogalski in P12. P13 for Mario Trumma. P14 for Chris Steiner. Marinke Jordanovsky P15. Henrik Steurer P16. Lucas Baza 17th. Maximilian Paul in 18th. Christian Ablasa in 19th. And Timo Pits down in P20. That's your top 20. 21st, for the first time, I think, not in the top 20 for quite a while. It's Mirko Bortolotti. He finds himself down in P21. Christoph Hatos in P22, P23 for Anton Abe, Patrick Dangel in P24, Mikael Döringer 25th, René Rösler in P26, P27 for Jens Fiedler, Jan Lins in P28, and then we go to the drivers who sadly were not able to see the checkered flag. And it is quite a few. Hugo Zasse, Michiel Haverens, Stefano Pellegrino, Jonas Warner, Florian Stadtmann, Leon Blum, Callum Lux, Hendrik Augustin, Ben Buhnagel, Mario Herzog, Robert Heger, and Davy Overma. Way too much, or way too many drivers that I had to mention there that sadly did not see the end of this race. But let's get in who I think is a very ecstatic Bernard. Well, welcome into the commentary booth. Bernard Geberga, how does it sound if I call you a W12 race winner?
Actually, I can't really believe that because I didn't see that happening at all. I think it was extremely down to luck. Big luck. That's it.
Well, not only luck, let's be honest, because you had to drive, I think, for about 50 minutes of that race at the front, under pressure from Hugo Rob, who would not let you go over that 5-second gap. You gained a bit of time in the pit stop phase as well. Just take us through that race from the moment of getting the lead to taking the checkered flag. What went through your head?
Yeah, first I have to say it's a bit of a good situation for me because during qualification I ran 3 completely clean laps and still reserved became a curled flag, which I still don't understand. I would really love somebody to check the replay because there was no uncontrolled thing happening, and I got the black flag for unknown reasoning. So it was a bit disappointing starting. And during the last moment of warm-up, I thought on the dry line, it could work with dry tires. So I changed tires and had like a third of a lap on dry tires. And thought like, as long as they on the dry line, it can work. But if I go off it, it's mayhem happening. And that was exactly what happened in the race. So I immediately understood that the dry tires works perfectly fine on race line. And I think hardly anyone else had dry tires. And I was so much faster than basically everybody around me. The tricky thing was to stay on dry line because a meter left or right and catch a spot of red water immediately turned the car around. So it was super sketchy, especially in the beginning.
Yeah. So great skill needed. You also won server 1 for the silvers. You won server 2 for the silvers. That means you're now championship leader for the silvers as well. Is that one of your aspirations? Alongside now, maybe, who knows, the overall championship after this win?
Well, this was super surprising for me because there were such fast guys in the first race. I couldn't believe how fast they are straight out of the pit, and I felt completely off pace. But I'm basically an endurance guy, so I'm slow but steady, and I do my laps, and sometimes luck is with me, and then it turns out nice. If nobody is taking me out, I have a chance of like finishing in a decent position, despite not being like very fast on one lap.
Well, Bernard, thank you very much for joining us, and congratulations on taking your first W12 Sprint Series victories. Hopefully, more to come.
Yes, would be lovely to see. Thank you so much, and have a good rest of the stream.
Thank you, Bernard. That was Bernard Geberga, our winner of the feature race here at Motegi. Let's get in. A man who usually gets quite unlucky in the W12 Sprint Series. But this time, it was the other way around. It wasn't without some contact, though. We're looking back at that now. Hugo, I think there was contact earlier on with some of the drivers on wet tires trying to get through the field. But we do have to say, majestic drive by you to still get back to second.
Thank you.
Just take us through from the moment of the start, making that decision for the dry tires, because it wasn't an easy decision. The race before that was for sure wet tires. When did you know that, okay, dry tires is now the right decision?
Thanks to Isaac for saying it's dry, because it still looks super damp on the track, but the amount of grip you had for how wet it looks, it was surprising.
So it wasn't actually you making the decision for wet tires.
No.
It was like, Isaac, okay, I tell you now, it's dry tires, do it.
Yeah, basically.
All right, well, Isaac himself had a great race, of course, in race number 1. I think he gained 21 positions. You yourself, I think, gained 16 there as well. Just take us through qualifying, what went wrong, and then take us through race number 1, coming back through the field. How good did that feel?
On qualifying, I struggled a lot with the braking in turn 2 on the double left-hander there. I could never manage it, not even during the race at all. So otherwise, it was quite nice track, to be honest. I've never driven here.
And then getting back through the field from starting, I think you started P28 or P29, somewhere around that region. And then getting back through the field. How difficult was that with basically everything kicking off in front of you?
I mean, as long as you stay out of trouble, you would actually get like top 15. So just like the no-kill race, if you stay out of trouble, you can gain 32 positions.
And staying out of trouble is what you did for both the main race and the feature race, the reverse grid race. Well, Hugo, congratulations on your podium. Congratulations on a good evening in general, I would say. And thank you for jumping into the booth with us.
Thank you.
And last but not least for us, definitely, is a driver finishing in P3, a different Italian finishing on the podium this time round. It's not Mirko Bortolotti, no, it's Andrea Frasinetti from 07 Racing, finds himself in P3 on the podium once again. Andrea, welcome in. Well, congratulations, P3. How does that sound?
Yeah, thank you a lot. It was a little bit sketchy on the start because I had to choose to put the dry or the wet. I choose the wet to be not too risky, and it doesn't work on the start. So yeah, it was funny.
And then you had to switch at the start from wets to dries in the pit stop. You'll obviously lose a lot of time with that. Then making your way back through the field. Just tell us what went through your mind when you knew the wets were not the right choice, and just your thinking process of having to switch to the dries.
Yeah, fortunately I had help from my team, so they suggest me to put the right to take the right decision. And then yeah, I push like hell, and it works because I was very back on the field, and then the lap time was good. Yeah, I did the best lap of race on the last lap. So yeah, I was funny from the first lap to the last.
You mentioned it. You set the fastest lap of the race. What do you think would have been possible for you if you were able to start on the dries? Because it definitely looks like you had the pace to win.
Yeah, I don't know because sometimes I take too much risk, so maybe it doesn't work for me to start with dry tires. But yeah, I like it was really sketchy.
What are your aspirations now? You've had quite a good evening, server 1 and server 2. Are your aspirations to challenge up there together with Rafael Renhoff and Mirko Bortolotti for the championship?
I'll try I'll try everything to fight with them because we are very fast. But unfortunately, the server 1 didn't go well for me because I didn't know no kill was my first time. So yeah, it was very difficult to use to this very narrow track. And yeah, let's see the next race how we'll go.
All right. Thank you very much, Andrea. Congratulations on your podium. Don't party too
Thank
hard.
you. Thank you.
That was Andrea Frasinetti, the Italian, finishing in P3 in this race. Well, normally I would say we'll go to the silver winner now, but ladies and gentlemen, we've had that one first. Bernhard Geberga wins in the silver class, also wins the race overall. Hugo Ropp in P3, Andrea Frasinetti in P3. It's been a majestic evening of racing once again. W12 has provided. We'll see you back next week on the Monday, same time, not the same cars. And for sure, different tracks as well. We'll see you next week on Monday. Goodbye.